Welcome to Product Marketing Alliance. We're home to everything a product marketer needs to learn, share, and succeed in their role. The definitive product marketing course, Product Marketing Core, is the perfect platform for experienced product marketers to broaden their existing knowledge, as well as educate newcomers beginning with their product marketing journey. Our community. We're home to more than 10,000 product marketers across the world, and every single day, tons of product marketing specific conversations go down. The community hasn't just been an absolute wealth of knowledge and answers, it's the place for constant inspiration. With a PMA membership plan, everything a product marketeer could possibly need is all in there, all in one place. Whether you want to grab a template, learn about how to become more strategic from product marketeers who've mastered it, sit back and watch hundreds of hours of presentations from some of the world's most trusted brands, our packages have got it all and more. We really are, dare we say it, the one-stop shop.
Hi everyone, thanks for your time and tuning in. And a big thank you to the Product Marketing Alliance for having me. Today, I'm really excited to share with you how Canva was able to identify market opportunity and begin winning a new segment in just a few short months. While it might seem simple enough, there's a lot that goes into zeroing in on your audience that you should go after. As a PMM, you'll have to engage with a growing number of stakeholders, interview customers, launch experiments, and so much more. Knowing where to start can be tricky. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make is something that'll set you off course as you drive towards go-to-market. A big challenge for a lot of us out there is knowing what the opportunity is and then how to capture it. There's a lot of risk if you don't do it right. By just using assumptions to know who your audience is, you could totally overlook or deprioritize an important audience. You might not include the right internal stakeholders, and you might misunderstand how to best market to your audience, which can waste time and resources. These concerns were top of mind for all of us last year. As the world changed within an instant in early 2020, and more people were communicating remotely, we went through a paradigm shift at Canva. We had to redefine our brand narrative and overall how we thought about the Canva user experience. A big challenge for a lot of us out there is knowing what the opportunity is and then how to capture it. There's a lot of risk if you don't do it right. By just using assumptions to know who your audience is, you could totally overlook or deprioritize an important audience. You could not include the right stakeholders. You might misunderstand how to best market to your audience, which can really waste time and resources. These concerns were top of mind for us last year. As the world changed within an instant in early 2020, and more people were communicating remotely, we went through a paradigm shift. We had to redefine our brand narrative and overhaul how we thought about the Canva user experience. It was an effort that required collaboration across 120 people working remotely, with just 6 months to launch. And while it wasn't always a straight line from chaos to clarity, we were able to shift our perception and start to dominate a new market with a few key steps. For those that might not be familiar, Canva is the world's fastest growing design platform. Used worldwide and accessible in over 100 languages, Canva empowers the world to design anything. And we make it easy for anyone to create over 100 different design types. Everything from social media posts, to video, to websites, to t-shirts and mugs, and even really cool presentations, just like this one. Our mission has always been to empower the world to design. Since 2013, we challenged the idea that design requires years of mastery or expensive tools. The ability to design and communicate anything and achieve your goals should be democratized. And we've been pretty successful so far. Over 7 years, we've amassed 40 million monthly active users, the most of any design platform in the world. And our customers have created more than 3 billion designs on Canva. Our customer base is extremely varied. We have a ton of use cases and many personas, like couples creating wedding invitations, teachers creating lesson plans for students, students finishing projects for school, sales teams creating pitch decks, nonprofits designing campaigns to drive fundraising and awareness, entrepreneurs designing their company's logo and brand identity, and so much more. People from all over the world create, share, and publish anything. But we noticed something pretty interesting. A lot of these users were designing on their own. Despite having the ability to create teams and share designs, we weren't seeing a lot of users interacting with these features, which made sense because we never really made our users aware of these features historically. When looking at users that created teams, we noticed that they were more likely to share designs with each other, to work on designs together, to add comments and communicate right in Canva. And overall, that increase in product adoption correlated to greater retention when compared to solo users. And we had a whole other segment too, solo users who belong to enterprises, coming onto Canva to create content for work, unaware of other colleagues or departments that were using Canva as well. Oftentimes, users that were designing on Canva for work, as perhaps many of you might be doing today, ran the risk of duplicating work done by other team members or producing off-brand content born out of a need to just get something out the door. When we took a step back and assessed the gap between where we were winning and where we wanted to be, we saw a big opportunity, and that became particularly poignant in 2020. At the start of last year, we had long-term plans to expand upon our existing Teams offering. Eventually, we wanted to add more functionality, and only then would we really drive adoption. But as the world changed very quickly, people started leaning on technology as a way to connect and started to look for new ways to communicate even more effectively. It soon became clear that if we didn't act now, we'd fall behind. Timing, as you know, is everything. And we were given a mandate from our founders to come up with a plan quickly. Our first step was to do the work of identifying market opportunity by assessing several data inputs. As a team, we had lots of assumptions about our users, but we needed to conduct research and review data effectively so that when we came up with a plan, we had a solid North Star to align to. An early step was competitive intelligence. Our roadmap does not hinge on competitors. In fact, we span so many categories and use cases that we're often the ones paving the way. But it was important for us to look at both direct and indirect competitors and what they were doing. We wanted to know what features they offered that were all about teams and collaboration. How did they differentiate between their offerings? What messages were they going out to market with? What was their pricing like? Understanding common team narratives helped us craft our own so that we could stand out. And understanding consumer expectations about Teams features helped us define what was table stakes. We had some key findings. We uncovered that many platforms actually restrict the plans that allow for Teams. Oftentimes, if there were free plans, they were capped at 2 to 3 users. We also validated some of our assumptions about pricing and noticed that our pricing was competitive. But there were specific product implications too. Our conclusions were that real-time collaboration was table stakes. It's the market expectation, and without it, we would not be considered a real Teams and collaboration tool. We also decided we didn't want to restrict team functionality to our highest priced teams. Our mission is to democratize design. So we decided we would not cap Teams growth for any plans. We wanted to make it possible for anyone to have a team. For us, reviewing competitors helped us stay on track with our North Star and feel secure in our offering. In parallel, we dove into user research. Our amazing UX team did a ton of work to identify key areas of concern amongst our users and teams. They conducted interviews, dove into past research, connected with our sales teams and support teams, and looked at the data. We uncovered some new findings which were eye-opening. Now, despite the fact that we dog food our own product, a lot of how we use Canva differs from our users. We discovered that we weren't doing enough to tell users about Teams functionality in the onboarding or in the product, and it wasn't easy to stumble upon Teams functionality. For instance, we discovered that we didn't tell users that they could use Canva as a team in the onboarding or in the product. It was not easy to stumble upon it. We didn't communicate why teams were beneficial either. And for existing teams, we didn't make it easy to find team designs or understand how to share designs in folders. It wasn't possible to collaborate in real time either. Looking at the market and our users can be a signal for further product development and narrative shifts. For us, those were the two major elements of this launch, which were significant. To provide our teams with as much clarity as possible on the launch, we pulled out key themes and developed a jobs to be done framework for launch, where we identified our MVP and aligned the different teams across marketing and product towards providing better customer experiences within and outside of the product. The next step after understanding your customers and market is to start work on developing personas to drive positioning, core to any PMM function. But this work can also lead to refining roadmap and ginning up offerings to drive urgency. For the Canva Teams launch, we knew that we had to adjust our USP. Before, it was all about the solo user and their experience. When we looked at the opportunity to grow teams within the business and the prosumer base, we knew that we had to tweak our brand positioning. What was once about empowering everyone became about empowering every team to design anything together. And while we wanted to drive teams growth and be the perfect product for every team in the long term, we knew that to be successful for this launch, we had to be targeted and choose the right audience that would benefit the most from our MVP. There were so many use cases across education, nonprofits, casual creators, prosumers, and enterprise, and so many different roles within each organization type. If we targeted a very wide audience and went to market with broad messaging, we could, at best, have a low impact launch that would see little shift in our team adoption, and at worst, create confusion in the market and then lose out on all segments. When we looked at our total addressable market, we zoomed in on where the opportunity was strongest. We looked at users who experienced the biggest pain points, and we decided to tier our audiences and model a go-to-market approach suited for each as part of this global launch. At the top were prosumers, individuals using Canva to produce content for consumption. These are content creators, entrepreneurs, small businesses. Our goal here was to encourage these users to create content together, as they were power users with a real interest in design. Next, we had existing teams. We wanted to drive awareness of Teams features to encourage more collaboration and sharing. These were with nonprofits, enterprises, and existing pro teams. We also knew our education users had a completely unique set of challenges. We knew early on that our MVP did not meet these requirements, and so we made the decision to exclude them from the launch. Now, as we started looking at how to drive teams amongst pro users, the pro growth team thought about how to go beyond features to maximize teams growth. In our research, we uncovered the barrier to teams growth was pricing. Pro users who might want to collaborate were resistant to purchasing more seats. The pro growth team looked at how to tackle this problem with an experimental lens, which makes sense because at Canva, we have a big experimental culture. We seek to validate everything with data before making any major changes. And so we looked at our linear pricing and ran an onboarding experiment. The growth team ran a number of tests and models to find the point of maximum teams growth. We tested for signups, trial to paid conversions, and retention after the first month. After more than 2 months, we were able to validate a pretty big assumption. By giving pro users 4 additional seats, we were able to remove the barrier of entry and make it possible to create a team. The development of this pricing experiment fundamentally shifted this launch. What started as a tier 2 launch quickly pushed into tier 1. And the promo messaging became central to our campaign identity and go-to-market plan. Now, a big challenge for us during this launch is something that's probably not unfamiliar to a lot of you. We aim to complete a full product build and brand launch in just a few months. But between new research and experiments happening in parallel with marketing plans, plus a pandemic that forced our teams to collaborate remotely, alignment became even more challenging and even more critical. As mentioned before, the go-to-market team consisted of 120 people across 20 different teams, but the original project team was quite small. The challenges we faced were a growing list of feature updates that required clarity across sales, marketing, and other product teams. We also had an expanding list of internal stakeholders who needed to be responsible, accountable, and informed of all updates. This was an outcome of having a process that didn't really align to an ideal launch framework. In a perfect world, there are set stages. There's an idea phase and a build phase, etc. and there's enough time to test all of your assumptions, to frequently check in with every stakeholder, and gather clear consensus on every decision made. But this is rarely a reality. It more often looks like this, where you move from chaos into clarity. This type of thinking is something that empowers teams to move fast. You need to be agile and flexible and understand that sometimes things might not happen in the right order. As a PMM and leader in your business, you might not have all the answers at the start. As product marketers, we're all uniquely positioned. We're in the cross section of so many different groups, and it's up to us to not only build the go to market plan, but to identify gaps and make sure that the right people are across goals. Our position means that we can communicate business decisions and updates and be the one to really help rally teams towards one common goal. And as PMMs, it's our job to be the internal communicators across sales, marketing, product, and execs. Oftentimes, try as you might have to shift milestones, and they're moved to weeks or even days before everything needs to go live, as was the case with us. What helped us get closer to launch was establishing daily stand-ups with the go-to-market team, establishing clear milestones to achieve and keeping our North Star in mind as we edged closer to the go-live date. Another key way that we added clarity to launch was by establishing a centralized product narrative. Positioning and narrative shared internally can really help align teams and move them from chaos to clarity. So, how did we do? The outcome was a full-scale marketing effort across all of our organic and paid channels, and we went global. We developed positioning and brand identities that represented the teams across each of our key segments. We looked at where prospects and customers were and developed a strategy to target them with the right message at the right time. We looked through performance marketing, landing pages, email and mobile messaging, communities on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We pushed sponsored content and ads on YouTube and podcasts, and we leveraged our team to get awareness across key tech publications. These were all tier one campaign efforts and were a massive lift across so many different teams. And that's why it was integral that we kept the go-to-market process inclusive and took a collaborative approach and lead on channel owners for strategy and execution with the goals that we set. Now, the last point I want to touch on is a bit obvious. Oftentimes, we can get caught up in the repositioning and messaging of a feature or product. And we might lose sight of the fact that if we really want to dominate a new audience, we actually need a product that solves for key pain points. If we go to market with a product that doesn't even meet or even exceed expectations, we miss the opportunity to impress our net new and existing users. Going to market in collaboration with product as an extension of the go-to-market plan is an essential piece to creating that perfect, seamless experience. At Canva, we are a design-led company, of course, and it was integral to us that our launch reflected that approach. And here's just a snapshot of the ways that we made it work together. The whole launch centered around the need for users to come together to design on any document at the same time. This was a market expectation of any cloud-based collaboration platform. And so it was integral that we had this capability in our MVP. Since this launch was about encouraging teams' growth, we also had to make it easier for users to create teams. We made teams creation prominent on the Canva homepage, and we incorporated our brand marketing touch in our pop-up modals. We also brought brand into the product onboarding flow. From our research, we knew that users had trouble getting started on Canva. So we identified top tasks users first complete to design. Then through introducing strategically placed tooltips that were specific to users' roles, we guided users across the product, and we simplified the design, creation, and team invite experience with the goal of encouraging users to quickly create a team space conducive to teamwork. Now, one last feature I'll mention is one that I'm pretty excited about. It was something integral to the enterprise audience. We saw that there were so many enterprise users who were unaware that their colleagues had created a team on Canva. And on the other side, we had a lot of businesses that purchased Canva but had trouble getting employees to jump on their team account. So we looked at creating a frictionless way to surface teams on the homepage. With team discovery settings, admins could allow other Canva users from their organization to discover and join their Canva team. This was a great way to drive teams growth, particularly amongst our B2B audience. As remote working quickly becomes the norm, people are finding new ways to collaborate online, getting things done, resulting in tremendous growth for Canva. Not only are people choosing Canva for all of their design needs, but the number of those teaming up on designs has actually almost doubled since June last year. From small business owners teaming up on social media graphics, large enterprises keeping their assets on brand across global offices, classrooms and nonprofits sharing their vision through design, and families creating greeting cards for loved ones, designing together is here to stay. Where we're focused on this year is on growing large teams and driving a roadmap that really focuses on solving some of the most complex problems within the B2B space. I hope that sharing this Canva journey with you has either inspired you to start your own journey of targeting and winning a new segment, or maybe it sparked ideas around how you can really optimize for your current markets. Winning new markets can be challenging, but with a solid foundation of research and data, you can build towards a seamless customer experience that will delight customers and keep them coming back for more. Thank you.